Again, my name is Gwen Sorley. My background is in education. I have a master's in education, and I've been using Play Attention with my clients since 1996, so for about 30 years. And I've used Play Attention with every age, from about 5 years old all the way up through adulthood. So hopefully, my experiences using neurotechnology and customized cognitive training will give you a better understanding of our program and our process. Now, I know just looking from the list here that many of you have been to some of our webinars in the past. And if you've attended our webinars in the past, you know that we cover a lot of different topics that have to do with executive function. We might talk about organization or social skills. We may talk about planning, prioritizing, time management. We talk about how to start and complete tasks in a timely manner. So there are a lot of tips and strategies we give during those webinars. And we want you to have all of those tips and strategies in your toolbox, right? Because those are important. But do any of you ever feel like, well, I know how to use a to-do list, or I know how to use a calendar, and I get online and they give me all of these tips, but why do they seem to work for everyone else and not me? Does anyone ever experience that? You can use the raise your hand icon or type in the chat box. Do you ever feel that? Yeah, Alina and many others are saying that they have that experience. I was speaking to a woman not too long ago, just a few weeks ago, and she said, everyone keeps looking at me and saying, just write a to-do list. And she said, writing a to-do list isn't the problem. I can write a beautiful to-do list. I start every single day with a beautiful to-do list. The problem is I don't get anything done on that to-do list. And that's because if you think about all of the skills you need in order for that to-do list to really work for you, first we have to improve your memory so that you remember you have a to-do list. Then we have to work on your ability to sustain your attention so that when you start number one, you're able to sustain your attention to completion. We have to work on filtering distractions so that you're not constantly distracted during a task on that list. We have to work on impulse control so that you're not starting number one and impulsively jumping down to number three. We have to work on mindfulness so that your internal dialogue doesn't derail you. So you may not have ever thought about that, but to-do list is not just a to-do list. There are a lot of things you need, right? We need to work on sustained attention, memory, impulse control, processing speed, and all of those are skills that we can incorporate into your play attention program. And you may have this experience with your child. If any of you have a child in school and they have a 504 plan, for example, and there have been strategies or accommodations made for them. And I know that from my experience when I was working in the school setting, one of the common accommodations was longer test time. And that is a good accommodation in theory. However, if we're not simultaneously developing skills, if we're not simultaneously helping your child learn how to direct and sustain their attention and filter distractions, then longer test time just ends up being longer time to daydream and not really productive time. Can anyone relate to that? Does that make sense? Do you have a similar experience? Okay. Aisha says yes, she does have a similar experience as well. So that's why we're here today. How can we develop a customized plan to help you improve executive function? And that's what we specialize in. We specialize in one thing. We help you reach your goals. So I want to just take a moment now and hear, what are your goals? Go ahead and type in the chat box. Why are you here today? You have a specific goal in mind. Aisha, you raised your hand at the 504. So are you here because you have a child and you really want to help your child achieve and be able to actually show what they know? Are you here because you are interested in play attention as an adult and you're wanting to be more productive? Do you feel like you're working so hard, you're even bringing homework or office work home on the weekends because you're not able to finish all of the work that you have during the workday? Um, Cassie says she's here to improve working memory and initiate undesirable tasks. Very good, because that's usually the hard thing, right? We have no problem initiating and staying on task if it's something we enjoy or high stimuli. It's that undesirable task that's a little bit harder. Uh, Alina says, I want to clean all the clutter from my room and house and maintain a nice, clean home. So that organization part of executive function. Excellent. Frank says, I want to help myself and my child develop executive function. Great. Um, Jasper is here because he is a special ed director for a school system. Great. Aisha says, I tend to work 10 to 12 hours as I work better once everyone is gone for the day. I bring home work as well. And Aisha, that's so important to bring up because I think a lot of people here will be able to relate, right? It's not that you can't do the work, it's that you have a hard time focusing and filtering out all of that unnecessary stimuli or those distractions when people are in the office. So that's why you're more productive at the end of the day. So, what would it be like, Aisha, if we could help you develop that ability to stay focused to what's important and filter out all of that unnecessary stimuli? And if people are coming in and out of your office, how to not multitask, because we know that that's not efficient, but task switch efficiently. That would be part of your program. Teresa says, further help students staying on task and also finish my own reports on time. Very good. Excellent. So you see that there are a lot of different individuals here. There are parents who want to help their own children, adults who are looking to develop their own skills, and professionals, clinicians, and educators who want to help their clients or students achieve. And that's what we do. We've been in the field of neurocognitive training for over 30 years. We're actually the pioneers. We developed this genre. And it was back in the 1980s when the founder of our company, Peter Freer, started really researching different attention training techniques because he was working with individuals, both children and adults, who were struggling with attention difficulties or weak executive function. And at that point, he came across the work that Dr. Pope and Dr. Paulson were doing with NASA. And what he found was that they were integrating feedback technology with their flight simulator. That means that they were monitoring the brain states of their pilots and astronauts while they were doing their flight simulator training. And so that means if they were very attentive, if they were in their peak attentive state, then all of their controls were automatic. Their job was very easy to do. But if they became distracted or stressed, they weren't as attentive, then everything became very sluggish. Their job became harder. So they were getting real time feedback regarding their attention while developing their job skills. And the founder of our company thought, well, that's brilliant. If I can show my clients their attention in real time while working on cognitive skills we need every single day, then I have a comprehensive approach. So that is the very foundation of play attention. What makes us unique and effective is what we teach and how we teach it. Play attention is the only program available that integrates neurotechnology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping to provide you with the most comprehensive approach available. Now, many of you may have seen on our website this body wave armband, and you see a drawing of it here on my screen. But this body wave armband on the back, there are 3 sensors. This is our neurotechnology. And when I slide this armband on my arm, now those sensors are monitoring my brain activity that tells us how attentive I am. And then that information is given over to the computer where I'm allowed to control all of the cognitive exercises just with my mind, or more specifically, my attention alone. and I receive constant and immediate feedback as to whether or not I truly am focused and paying attention. And that is a really important first step in the learning process. Because right now, if you think about, and you can type in the chat box the answer to this question. If you look at your child or your partner or your client and you say, I need you to pay attention, or maybe someone's looking at you and saying, I need you to pay attention, what is the typical response that you hear or you give when you hear, I need you to pay attention? What do you typically hear back? I want to see if you're hearing the same thing I was hearing. Exactly. Cassie says, I'm trying. Okay. Many of you are saying, I am, right? Marta, Alina, Patricia, you're all saying I am. Alina, and I think I have two different Alinas here with different spellings of their names. Alina says, I look at their ear and nod when appropriate. Okay. Alicia says, I am. I am paying attention. A lot of people will say that because they really think they are paying attention, but they just haven't developed what it takes for them personally to stay very attentive. And that, or what Alina said, she's developed a type of coping skill. She's looking at their ear and nodding when appropriate. That's one of her coping strategies she's developed. But now, what we're going to do through neurotechnology is we're going to take that very abstract concept and make it concrete and controllable. So now you can actually see your attention, you feel what you're doing, and you're allowed to practice different cognitive skills. So that means that all of our cognitive exercises, and you will be assigned a focus coach, whether you are a professional here or looking at this for home use, you're all assigned a focus coach. That's one of our coaches here on staff. And yes, it is an actual human. That's the number one question I've been getting lately. Is it a real person? It is a real person. And that person is going to customize your plan. And that's where we're pinpointing the different cognitive skills that are most important for your program. And the important thing to remember is that no matter what you're working on, whether it's attention stamina or task completion or working memory, you have to be paying attention. If you're not paying attention, then the activity will stop or the character will go in the wrong direction, and you have to focus back in order to continue. Just like we brought up earlier with the pilots and astronauts with NASA, if they were very attentive, they got that immediate feedback. Their job was easier. If they weren't as attentive, then it got a little bit more difficult. It was more challenging to do their job. Now we're going to give you this real-time feedback regarding your attention while you work on specific skills. And the reason we do this is because we know when we talk about developing or strengthening executive function, we're talking about sparking brain change. And brain change doesn't just occur. There are a lot of catalysts that are required to spark that brain change, one of which is attention, right? If you think about it, you can have a great teacher, you can have a fantastic counselor, but if you're having a hard time paying attention to that individual or the process, it is hard to get maximum benefit. So that's why we make certain that no matter what you're working on, you are actively engaged. So that's the power of that neurotechnology, is that you always know when you're paying attention and when you're not paying attention. And when you're not, you'll know how to correct it. The second catalyst required for brain change is challenge. So I know a lot of us love to do things we're good at, right? We practice most often and we engage in things that we are really good at. But that's not going to spark that brain change. We have to have challenge in order for brain change to occur. So we have what's called an auto adjust algorithm in our program. And that means when you put that body wave armband on, we're looking at your best ability to pay attention. And the bar is set there. If you are able to reach or exceed that level of attention, then you're able to activate the exercise. Now, if you're able to maintain that level for a given number of seconds, Then in the background, we raise the bar just a little bit. Now you have to be that much more attentive in order to be successful. And the opposite is true too. I know some of you may be thinking, but my child or I am already frustrated in the classroom or at the workplace. I don't want to be frustrated in this learning process. And so we know that. And we know that if there's frustration, no learning is going to take place either. So the opposite is true as well. If you get to a point where you're a little fatigued, you can't reach that same level, then we bring you back down to your last successful level and gradually build you up. So we're always keeping you at a challenging yet success-based pace. And then there is deliberate practice. And deliberate practice means you can't just come into your play attention session and go through the motions. We're going to set a mini goal. Actually, Sheer Genius, the artificial intelligence that's in play attention, is going to look at your progress thus far and then set a mini goal. So when Cassie logs in, Sheer Genius will say, okay, Cassie, yesterday you completed this with 75% attention. Today, let's try 77%. And if you do that, you earn a point. So again, 3 catalysts required for brain change because that's what we're looking for. And we incorporate those into your play attention program. They're automated: attention, challenge, and deliberate practice. Now, as I mentioned, we've been doing this neurocognitive training for over 30 years, but Tufts University School of Medicine wanted to know, is the integration we do, and that's the integration of neurotechnology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping, is that important? Or can we just give you a series of cognitive exercises and get the same results? So they had 3 different groups of individuals, all identified as ADHD. The first group received play attention, so they had full integration. The second received just cognitive exercises, so brain games on the computer, no feedback technology, and no behavior shaping. And the third was their control, so they received no intervention at all. And at the end of the study, the play attention individuals were the only group that showed global improvements in all areas. And global improvements, that is important because that means that they transferred and generalized the skills, not that they just got better in the games, because oftentimes with traditional brain training apps or games, they get better in the games, but not necessarily in life. And what Tufts showed was that the play attention individuals showed global improvements. They transferred and generalized these skills in all areas, including academic, social, behavioral, and executive function. They were also the only individuals that if they started the study and were on medication, because some of them were on, some of them were not, but if they were on medication and in the play attention group, those individuals had an average decrease in their medication, where the other 2 groups had an average increase. And that goes back to skill building. If we can help you develop skills, there may be less of a necessity to mask symptoms. So you can use play attention whether you're on medication, not on medication, it really doesn't matter. Medication does work for many people by controlling symptoms. The challenge is medication alone doesn't teach any skills or change behaviors. So we don't want to medicate and fail to educate. We want to use this time to help you develop skills. And that's what play attention can do. So now I do want to stop talking and I want to show you what I mean by this powerful neurotechnology and seeing your attention in real time. So I'm going to switch screens here in a moment. But before I do that, I want to take a quick poll. And let me just bring up my poll on the screen. So we have to all be on the same page. What does the body wave armband monitor? And you should be able to see the poll on your screen right now. If you can't, you can type in your answer. But what does this body wave armband monitor? Is it A, eye movement, B, breathing, C, brain activity, or D, FM radio? Is it eye movement, breathing, brain activity, or FM radio? All right, and I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay, everyone listen, because only 75% of you got the correct answer. That body wave armband is monitoring brain activity. So, not eye movement, not breathing, brain activity. Because remember, we want you to experience your attention in real time. Now, keeping your eyes on someone who's talking to you can help you focus in. Regulating your breathing can help you focus, but that's not where attention originates. Attention originates in the brain. So if we're going to teach you what it means to pay attention, we have to show you that brain state in real time. So that, once again, that body wave armband is monitoring brain activity indicative of attention. I hope that makes sense because that is critical to understanding how our program works, how our neurotechnology works. So now I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to share with you my play attention dashboard. So right now you should be able to see my play attention dashboard. And while I am demonstrating play attention, I can't actually see your questions, but please do keep typing in your questions because I do want to address your questions, but just know it'll have to be after the demonstration because as I'm demonstrating and I'm on the screen, I can't see your questions. So right now on my screen, you see all of the different cognitive skills that we can address within your program. And remember, you will not need all of them. That's where the customization comes in. But remember, no matter what you're working on, you have to be paying attention in order to activate the exercise. And I'm going to share with you this very first one called attention stamina. Now remember, I have the body wave armband on that's monitoring my brain activity, indicative of attention. And this particular exercise is going to teach me how to direct and sustain my attention to low stimuli at will, much like being able to pay attention to my colleagues in the workplace, or if you have a child, that being able to pay attention to the teacher in the classroom. And I can choose from different characters, but one is this diver. When I click play, the very first thing you're going to see is a transition screen. So in a moment, you're going to see your game is loading, and that's just helping me transition from our conversation into the actual exercise itself. And once we get past the game is loading screen, then you're going
Focus.
to, oh, and I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to turn that way down so you can still hear me. You see my character at the top of the screen, and my attention meter is white because I'm not paying attention. I'm distracted. I'm talking to you. So now I'm going to stop our conversation. I'm going to pay attention to my task. Once I'm paying attention, I'm going to be able to swim him all the way down to the bottom of the ocean just with my attention alone. Okay, so I'm going to stop, focus in. Now that's as low as he goes right there. Now notice what happens as soon as I get off task. Immediately he starts to float up because I'm no longer as attentive. Now I know I have to control that behavior, control that daydreaming, focus in. So you see, it's kind of like a piece of exercise equipment for the brain. We're working areas that right now may be challenging. And by providing you with that constant and immediate feedback regarding your attention, you're then able to develop the self-regulation and self-monitoring you need in order to recognize when you're paying attention, recognize when you're not paying attention, and more importantly, when you're not, you'll know how to correct it because again, you've been given that opportunity to actually practice it. Now, I showed distraction because I started talking to you again, but distraction can be a variety of things. It could be daydreaming, it could be anxiety, it could be someone walking into the room and I can't filter that noise. Immediately, you get that feedback and then you learn how to control. So, now a couple of things. You noticed our graphics. That's about as exciting as our graphics get. All of our graphics are very simple. They are very low stimuli. And the reason we do this is because we know if we give you something high stimuli or high interest, you can pay attention to that, right? What we need to teach, and I think it was Cassie who brought this up, she wants to be able to learn how to pay attention to things she might not necessarily want to do, right? Those things that are not as interesting to her. And so that's what we really have to learn how to develop is that ability to pay attention at will to lower stimuli. So that's why all of our graphics are very simple so that you can learn how to pay attention to low stimuli at will. Then all of your data is stored for you. So you see here that I worked for 1 minute and 23 seconds. Of that time, I was actually paying attention 34% of the time. And my recovery speed, which is from the time I lost my attention to the time I regained it, was almost a full 14 seconds. So I have a lot to work on here. But again, remember that artificial intelligence, sheer genius, is going to take all of my data, not only to document my progress, but then to set mini goals. So the next time I log in, Sheer Genius will say, okay, yesterday you completed this with 34% attention. Today, let's try 36%. And if you do that, you earn a point. The point goes into your reward system. So Sheer Genius is constantly documenting progress, setting mini goals, and then also looking at skill advancement. So you'll notice here there is a bronze, silver, and gold medal. There are certain benchmarks I'll need to reach before moving up to intermediate and then to advanced. And the AI, the artificial intelligence, is going to graduate me when appropriate. So when I reach certain benchmarks, I'll move up. And when we move up, we're going to tie in more processes required for executive function, such as processing speed, impulse control, distractors, and mental flexibility. So there are times I'm going to have to use the mouse and the keyboard to respond to certain stimuli, but I'm still driving everything with my attention. Okay. So again, really powerful. And you know what I think is so empowering is that now, if I come to this session and maybe I'm a teenager or a young adult or an adult and I've experienced some failures and I feel like all of this is outside of my control, suddenly within the first couple of minutes, I see that I can control this. And that's where the real development is going to begin. So again, really powerful. Now I'm going to go back to my other presentation screen. So just give me a moment as I move back. Oh dear. Oh, okay. I have to do one thing here. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that was opened on my other screen. Okay. All right. So now in a moment, you'll be able to see my other screen, hopefully. Great. All right. So Cassie had a question here. She says, how does the armband read that your focus is on the game and not something else? It doesn't necessarily know where my attention is, right? It doesn't know if I'm paying attention to the exercise or paying attention to a reading activity. It only knows whether I am in that peak attentive state. So that's why we ask you to keep your eyes on the screen character because we're giving you feedback regarding your attention so you're able to develop that ability to pay attention at will. You get that understanding of what it means to pay attention and what it means to be distracted or anxious. And so that's what it's giving you feedback regarding. And that's really critical because when we move into our exercises, such as the academic bridge or attention monitor, that's where we're going to actually ask you to take all the skills that you've learned within play attention and apply them to your actual work tasks so that we can give you real-time feedback regarding your attention while you might be doing your reading or your math or your writing of your report. Okay. Does the program require access to a computer with a camera? Can you do it on a smartphone? So you don't necessarily need a camera. Nope, you don't need a camera for this. And you do need a computer though. So you need a Mac or a Windows operating system. Good questions. So, all of these cognitive exercises that you saw on my screen earlier, the end goal is to develop cognitive control in all of those areas in order to strengthen executive function. Now, I know many of you here today are very familiar with that term executive function. But if you're not very familiar, this is an important term for you to know because executive function is kind of like the CEO of your brain. It's what allows you to control your attention, your behaviors, your emotions. It allows you to plan and prioritize, organize, avoid procrastination, and remain on task. So it is a set of mental processes that we use every single day to get things done. And we know that no one's born with strong executive function, but we all have the potential to develop it. And that development starts right after birth and continues through our mid to late 20s. Unfortunately, we expect everyone to have strong executive function by the time they hit middle school, right? By the time you're the ripe old age of 11 or 12, we expect you to be organized and independent. And that doesn't always naturally happen. There are a lot of factors that can inhibit that development, one of which is ADHD. It may be ADHD, it could be autism, it could be anxiety, post traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury. It could be, in most cases, it's a combination of factors. So that can inhibit the development of executive function, or as you age, it may negatively impact your executive function as you age. But what's important to remember is what we know through neuroplasticity, that the brain is moldable, it's shapeable. And if we provide you the right challenge and the right feedback, you can create these new neural pathways despite your current wiring. We know that age is not a factor. We also know that labels like ADHD are not a factor. If we provide you the right challenge, you can create these new neural pathways. And that is the foundation of your program. So again, the very first thing we do is customize your plan. We take you through that onboarding. And when we're customizing your plan, we're looking at the different cognitive skills that are most important for your plan. So let's look at the modules that are available so that you can be formulating what would a good plan look like for you or your clients or your child or your partner. The course modules include everyone's program comes standard with attention stamina. That's the one you just saw, being able to direct and sustain your attention to low stimuli. Visual tracking. This is a great one. Let's say if the teacher's ever said to you, he does great when I stand right next to him, but as soon as I walk away, he's out the window and out the door, and then he has that diffused attention. So we work on staying focused and visually tracking. Task completion. This is a really important one. That ability to start one task right away, keep your attention just on that one task until completion, that closed end tasking. Short-term memory, that's the ability to remember dates, names, facts. Filtering distractions, that's something that we were talking about with Aisha earlier. She said when everyone's there, she's distracted. She can't get anything done in the office. So how to stay focused and filter out all of that environmental distraction. And then the academic bridge is what we were talking about with that transfer and generalization. So you see here, my client has on that body wave armband, but he's not doing a play attention exercise. He's working on his university course. And as long as he's paying attention to his coursework, he's going to hear from the computer, good, great. If he starts to drift, he'll hear focus, and then he knows he's not in that state he needs to be in. So again, this is where we're asking him to take all the skills he's learned within play attention and apply them to his actual work tasks so that you're beginning to develop that self-regulation and self-monitoring when it comes to your work tasks. There are additional modules that you can pick and choose from, and we can incorporate them into your plan. They are working memory, so that's one of our most popular add-ons. So working memory is that ability to hold information in order to complete a task. So for many of us, it's the ability to walk into a room and remember why we're there, right? We know we went there for a reason, but we can't remember why. That's a lapse of working memory. Or getting to the store and remembering all 5 items you wanted to pick up. For reading comprehension, so that you're not rereading the material over and over and over again in order to summarize what you just read. That's all related to working memory. Auditory processing, that is the ability to follow through with multiple step verbal instructions. So if you say, go to your room, put away your sneakers, bring down your jacket, they'll be able to follow through without being redirected or reminded. Hand-eye coordination, that's all about small motor control, handwriting, keyboarding. Social skills is a great one if anyone has a hard time picking up on social cues. They just simply miss the look. They miss the shake of the head because they're not paying attention to that other person. Spatial memory is remembering where things are located. So if you're constantly losing your keys or your wallet or your water bottle, that's a good one. We have mental math for first grade and second grade addition and subtraction. Motor skills, if you have more bumps, bruises, accidents than your peers, that helps with that mind-body coordination. And also mindfulness. And I love this one. It's one of my favorites because, we hear so much about how mindfulness helps with the symptoms of ADHD and anxiety. And that's true. However, we can't look at someone with ADHD and say, now I want you to practice mindfulness, because mindfulness is hard. It's hard for all of us, but especially if you have that running mind. So, what I love about this is that we're not just saying distractions will happen, just accept them and let them go. We're giving you a visual representation of what that means. So, you'll see a lotus flower in the middle of the screen. Once you have your mind in the present moment, you're able to start opening the petal on the flower. If you start thinking, when's my next appointment? Who do I have to call? What do I have to get at the store? That petal starts to close because you're no longer present. And then you have to bring yourself back. So we're guiding you through that mindfulness practice. Now, many of you here may be looking at all or listening to all of those different cognitive skills that we can address, and you're thinking, yep, that's me. Check, check, check. And you're checking off the boxes and saying, I need all of those exercises. But if you're not so sure and you would like to look a little bit further into what exercises we would recommend for you or your child or your clients, um, then I do recommend you take our online assessment. It's simply a questionnaire. It's a questionnaire. We ask several different questions, you respond, and then you get a full email report that tells us what areas we would recommend we put into your profile. So if you want that online assessment or online test and you haven't taken that as of yet, some of you here may have already done it, just type in test and I'll make certain that you get that assessment after the webinar. It should pop up after the webinar, but if you want us to send it to you, just type in test and we'll make sure you get that. I just like it because you can take it for a variety of individuals and then it gives you an immediate report in your email. Might go to promotions tab, so make sure you check that if you don't see it, or your spam folder, make sure you look there. But that will kind of give you a succinct list of what we recommend for your program. If you want to go a little bit further and don't want just a questionnaire, but a more objective assessment, we do have Focus available. Focus is a norm reference test of attentional control. And that is computer based. It takes 20 minutes. And at the end of the 20 minutes, we get a full report that tells us how you performed compared to the performance of your peers. And we look at 4 different constructs of attention. We look at performance, consistency, impulse control, and your ability to deal with distractors, both auditory and visual. So it is a really nice assessment if you want more information. Those focus assessments are optional add-ons. They're $50 a piece. And we do need about a 45-minute block of time to review the results with you. So if you'd like to enroll in the focus assessment or just want more information, type focus and I'll make certain we follow up regarding the focus assessment. Okay, so many of you asked for the test, and if you've already taken it, we'll touch base and let you know that we did send you the report already. Okay, so let's look at what your play attention program would look like. What does that actually mean? As I mentioned, we will ship that body wave armband to you. And then once you receive your body wave armband, you're going to meet your support team. You'll have a technical advisor who's going to make certain that you have everything set up correctly. And then you're going to connect for your onboarding with your focus coach. And your focus coach is going to take you through a practice session just to make sure you're really comfortable with everything before you get started on your sessions officially. After you do your onboarding, we're going to recommend that you work 1 week, do 1 week's worth of sessions. So, what we do recommend is that you work at least an hour per week, and that can be broken up. So, if you're working in a professional setting, that might be two 30-minute sessions. If you're working at home, you might want to do four 15-minute sessions, whatever works best for you. And so your focus coach is going to say, okay, do 1 week of work and then let's meet back via Zoom and talk about your progress, set up your rewards program, answer your questions. So, like I said, you have someone to work with you. And then at that point, they're going to say, okay, Teresa, how am I going to keep you on track? Is it a meeting, a Zoom meeting once a week for 15 minutes? Is it a text message? Is it an email? You just let us know what's important for you, and that person becomes your accountability partner to help keep you on track. And then, as I mentioned, from that point on, you're going to be working that 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes, 4 days a week. We want to get that hour per week in. You're going to start to see good results after about 6 weeks of consistent training. You're going to start noticing that you are more focused, that you are getting more things done in your 8-hour workday. You're not bringing home work in the evenings or on the weekends. You'll notice that you gave your child 3 instructions and they were able to follow through without being redirected or reminded. Relationships are improving, communication is better. So you're going to start noticing these small steps of improvement. But the research shows in order to gain permanency, in order for us to know that not only will you have these skills now, but you'll have them 20 years from now, that usually takes about 40 hours total. So if you're working that hour per week, I would plan on about 10 months of consistent training. Now, everyone learns differently. So if you get to that 40-hour mark, if it looks like there's more work to be done, that's okay. We customize the plan, we keep going. What's important to remember is you own the program, your support is unlimited. So whether it takes you 10 months or 16 months, it doesn't matter. We continue working as long as necessary. And even once you graduate, if you want to continue using it for peak performance, we can do that. Okay. As I mentioned, you can train professionally in your professional setting, or you can train together as a family. Our home system comes standard for with a user license for 2 family members. But as you can imagine, it is very rare that we only work with one family member. It's usually at least one parent, at least one child, if not the entire family. And you can upgrade your user license. An additional user license for a home client is just $50 a piece. And we will be able to track your progress. So remember, we saw how I could see immediate results, and then you can go into your dashboard at any time and actually see your progress over time, or reach out to your executive or your focus coach and ask them to review your data with you. So remember, in order to reach your goals, we started this session talking about what your goals are. You want to be more productive. You want to help your child improve executive function. You want to have better communication. You want to have improved emotion regulation. So no matter what your outcomes are, we can help you with a customized neurocognitive training plan to reach your goals. In order to reach your goals, you're going to start with your onboarding with your focus coach. You're going to work about an hour per week. And then we're going to see those changes starting to occur after about 6 weeks. But in order to gain permanency, in order for us to know that you'll have these skills throughout your lifetime, we're looking at about 40 hours total. And we're always there to help you along the way. So we have 2 different programs available. One is the home program and the other is the professional system. The only difference between the two programs, and remember, every program comes with that neurotechnology. We ship that to you. It comes standard with the 6 core cognitive exercises that we talked about. Those masterclass modules you can pick and choose from and add at any time. They are each $50 a piece. And your focus coach or through the test will be able to really evaluate which ones are most important for your program. The only difference between the home program and the professional program is the user license. So the home program comes standard with a user license for 2 people. The professional version comes with an unlimited user license. So if you're thinking, I have 25 clients I could enroll tomorrow, you can enroll all 25 of those clients. There's never any relicensing that's required. You continue to enroll clients into your program. If you are here because you want to know more about Silver Minds Spring Boot Camp, Silver Minds is our enhancement to play attention for individuals who are interested in cognitive health as we age. And we are launching our Silver Minds Spring Boot Camp next Tuesday. We have online seats still available. So if you were interested in signing up for that spring boot camp for Silver Minds, please let me know. Thank you again for coming today. I really do appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you very soon. Take care, everyone.